Government records are valuable public property. Government records are extremely valuable because they represent important public information. They are maintained through a structured procedure. Though maintaining them might seem complicated, it's necessary for preserving history and ensuring smooth government operations. They serve as reference and precedents for governance. They are also essential for policy formulation and administration. Each document, whether big or small, has value, and the importance of records varies. Some are more significant than others, so decisions must be about how long to keep them before they are discarded. As organizations deal with more records, having good management practices becomes even more important. Records management includes processes like creating, keeping, retrieving, and disposing of records. The goal is to ensure the organization can access these records when needed and maintain them in an orderly way. Reasons for record creation. Records in government offices include all forms of communication like letters, reports, and notes. They are kept for several reasons: to help plan and manage future activities, to provide information for audits or public bodies. Sometimes keeping records is legally required, and to help decision making by referring to past activities and policies, to make sure decision makers remain fair in addressing public concerns, to maintain continuity in administration, to preserve historical data about political and social conditions, to improve decision making processes, to substitute human memory, which is limited, to record facts for future generations, and to track resources used by the government. Therefore, managing records efficiently is crucial in all public organizations. The volume of records. As the government's role expands, more records are created. Hence, there's a large scale record accumulation in a welfare state. Modern duplication methods, they add volume. Modern tools make copying records easy, which increases the amount of paperwork. If not controlled, this can become overwhelming. To give an idea of the immensity of the problem, one may go through the report of Tarachand Committee on Archival Legislation of 1960, in which total accumulations of central ministries and other government departments and organizations, they have been estimated to total running about 40 to 136 miles of shelves. The total was 11 times the size of the National Archives repository, which has only 16 miles long shelves. The annual consumption of files covers by the central government departments has been estimated at 2 crores. So, a proper check on the growth of records is therefore essential right from the stage of their creation. To prevent this, it's important to limit unnecessary records. This can be done by using tools like phones and email to reduce the need for physical files and only opening files when necessary. Additionally, streamlining communication and delegation of responsibilities can also help reduce the volume of records. Present state of records in the government. Despite many guidelines on records management, their importance is often underestimated. Many officials they don't fully appreciate their importance. Various issues impact efficiency in government offices. Challenges in records management. Records management in government is generally marked by these drawbacks. Firstly, delays in information retrieval. Information retrieval is slow and sometimes records are lost or they cannot be found. Difficulty in locating records. In some cases, records cannot just be located. Retaining outdated records beyond their usefulness. Lots of records they have been kept which have not been used for a long time, even though they have outlived their purpose. No proper transfer of records to archives. Records older than 3 years are not being transferred to record rooms, and records older than 25 years are not being sent to national archives. This leads to overcrowded offices and they reduce efficiency, which leads to office congestion and to inefficiency. Poor utilization of storage space. Records are not stored efficiently, leading to wasted space. Lack of proper filing equipment. There's a shortage of good filing systems in the sections and record rooms. Security concerns. The safety of the record rooms is not being given proper attention, with the result important papers are found missing sometimes. Incompetent personnel in record rooms. Persons posted in record rooms are not of the right type. Generally, people who are unwanted in sections or persons of failing health, they are generally posted to record rooms. Record rooms in unsuitable location. Record rooms are not located in suitable places. Besides, there are unsatisfactory environmental conditions like lack of proper lighting, seating arrangements, etc. Risk of manipulation. Some reports suggest records, especially land records, are manipulated, affecting their accuracy. Principles of efficient records management. An efficient record management system follows these principles. Periodic weeding out, which means regularly removing records that no longer needed. Accessibility, to ensure records which are easily accessible based on the organization's needs. Control, to control the creation of records and to avoid unnecessary accumulation. Speed in retrieval, records should be easy to retrieve quickly when needed. Economy, ensure records occupy minimal space and that storing and retrieving them is cost effective. Retention schedule means to create a systematic schedule for retaining and disposal of records. Steps in records management. Records management involves several stages like creation, classification, transfer, maintenance, preservation, review, and weighting. Creation. The first step in records management is creating records that are truly necessary. Evaluate whether information can be shared verbally over phone or through other means before creating a record. Classification. Records should be categorized into four types: permanent records, important records, desirable records, and ephemeral records. Permanent records. These are of historical importance and they can never be destroyed. They should not be destroyed. Important records. These are useful for long term decision making. Desirable records. These are useful for certain period and they should be kept only for a while. Ephemeral records. These have no lasting value and should be destroyed once they are no longer needed. Records are classified into Class A and Class B. Class A, which are historically important, Class B, which are important for administration. And there's Class C files, which are of secondary importance, and ephemeral, which are temporary records. Transfer. Records should be categorized as inactive or inactive. Active records, which are frequently used, should stay in the section for up to 3 years. After that, they should be moved to Central Records Room. After 25 years, important records should be transferred to the National Archives. Maintenance. Active records should be kept in the work units, while inactive records should be stored in the Central Record Room. Proper filing systems and space saving techniques like microfilming can help with the storing records efficiently. Preservation. The longevity of the records, it depends on the proper care. Records should be protected from dust, pests, and damage. Special care is required for wet records or deteriorating documents, which should be treated by experts. Reviewing and weeding. Records should be reviewed regularly to ensure they are still needed. Unnecessary records should be removed to save space. This process is done annually, with the files being reviewed because of their classification. The process for reviewing and weeding out records includes Class C records, which are reviewed every year and destroyed if no longer needed. Class A and B records, which are reviewed after 25 years in consultation with the National Archives to determine whether they should be kept or destroyed. By following these steps and principles, government organizations can improve their record keeping systems, making them more efficient and less prone to errors or manipulation. Cost factor in records management. Managing records involves money, time, and effort. The goal is to keep the costs reasonable by optimizing the use of space, equipment, and trained staff while avoiding waste of resources like materials and manpower. There are two main types of costs involved: productive cost and preservation cost. Productive cost. This includes the expenses related to creating records like the cost of stationery, paper, pens, etc. Writing notes, handling correspondence, creating reports, and filing forms. It's important to focus on choosing the right materials, such as paper, depending on how long records need to be kept, and ensuring that reports are designed effectively. Preservation cost. This includes the cost of storing and maintaining records. It's essential to make sure that records are properly reviewed and unnecessary documents like routine notes or reminders are removed from files to save space. Inactive records that are not needed frequently can be reviewed and discarded. Preservation also involves maintaining proper equipment, having trained staff, and taking measures to protect records from damage. Poor management or lack of trained staff and proper equipment is often a major cause of poorly managed records. Organization for records management. Records management should not be handled by untrained or low level staff. Instead, trained professionals should be involved, especially a records administrator who should be supported by a team. A committee made up of key leaders, including the divisional head and records administrator, should regularly update the organization's records management strategy, keep track of retention schedules, like how long records should be kept, and ensure the system is effective for both current and future needs. The records administrator is responsible for overseeing the implementation of the organization's records policy, keeping the master index of records, tracking progress in recording, and managing the central records rooms. We have completed Unit 8. Now let's look into Unit 9, which is Office Reports. Office reports help us understand the functioning of public organization. Importance of office reports. Reporting is widely recognized as an important administrative function. Luther Gulick's classical formulation of executive functions in the acronym of POST-COP, it encompasses reporting as one among the 7 key managerial tasks. They help communicate important information between different levels of administration, promoting effective management, decision making, and coordination. In a democratic system, proper reporting is crucial for accountability and administrative action. What is a report? A report is a statement presenting facts about planning, coordination, performance, and the general state of administration. Its purpose is to communicate conclusions or recommendations based on investigated facts to those who are not directly involved in the situation. Purpose and functions of reports. Reports serve many functions. Performance measurement. Reports help senior administrators evaluate and improve executive performance. Information flow. Reports communicate information upward to facilitate management, to review subordinates' performance, and downward to inform subordinates with a view to promote within them a sense of responsibility and interest. Decision making. Reports provide necessary data and analysis for planning and decision making. Monitoring changes. Reports help identify and address potential threats. Reports aim at analyzing the impact of changes in environment both within and outside organizations. Administrative control. They ensure administrative control, coordination, and synchronization of efforts. Performance comparison. Comparison of performance of different organization units is facilitated by system of effective reporting. Classification of reports. Reports can be classified in several ways: direction, legality, functions, periodicity, style and structure, regularity, and confidentiality. Direction. Depending on their direction, reports could be meant for upward, downward, or sideward transmission. Upward reports are those sent by subordinates to their superiors at the higher levels, while the downward reports are those which move from higher organization levels to the lower ones. And sideward reports are those sent to peers. The upward and downward reports are instruments for ensuring responsibility and control. The sideward reports aim at securing coordination between functionaries who are not hierarchically related. Legality. Some reports are prepared and sent to meet the legal obligation. Such reports may be called statutory reports. An example of such statutory reports are those submitted by the Comptroller and Auditor General's Office to the Parliament through President. Functions. There are different aspects of the functions of an administrative organization, like establishment, accounts, stores, progress of schemes, etc. A report may be prepared for one of these aspects. For example, there may be a financial report regarding financial position and personal report regarding recruitment and so on. Periodicity. The reports usually relate to the activities performed during a specified period of time, depending on which there may be daily, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, or half-yearly, annual, and biannual reports. Sometimes the administrative requirements may be such that a report is urgently called for even before all aspects are fully considered. Such reports are tentative in nature and are called interim reports. The final reports are submitted subsequently on the basis of further information and after taking the administrator's further requirements into consideration. Style and structure. Reports, depending on their nature of channel of communication, they could be either formal or informal. The formal category consists of reports which are ordered by the official hierarchy, while the informal reports are called for officially, but they are nevertheless submitted. The formal reports largely follow hierarchic channels and they generally take written form, whereas the informal reports they mostly cut across formal channels and tend to be oral in form. Regularity. Reports that are sent regularly are called routine reports, and those that are required to be submitted under special circumstances or once in a while are called special reports. The special reports are called for under special circumstances. Confidentiality. While a vast majority of office reports are open, there are few which are confidential in nature. The confidential reports are generally prepared when sensitive work is being handled or when a third person other than the reporter and the pursuer of the report is not supposed to know their contents. The best example of this kind of confidential report CRs on the subordinate employees sent by the controlling officers in the government departments. Major elements of an effective report. Accuracy. The report must be based on true facts and data. Any mistakes can lead to incorrect conclusions and decisions. Presentable appearance. The report should look good and be neatly presented. This includes using quality paper, neat binding, and proper packaging if needed. Simplicity. The language used should be simple and easy to understand, avoiding unnecessary complexity or jargons. Brevity. The report should be short and to the point. Long reports can be boring and they may cause important details to be overlooked. Authenticity. The report should be compiled by authorized individuals and should include signatures, dates, and official stamps to confirm its authenticity. Proper organization. The report should be well structured with clear sections like title, table of contents, data sources, summary, and conclusions. Information should be placed logically. Reports must be relevant. Reports must be relevant and purposeful. They should serve on the basis for decision making and record keeping. Unnecessary reports waste time. Up to dateness. Reports should be based on the most current information to ensure accuracy. Timeliness. Reports should be prepared and delivered promptly to avoid delays in decision making. Economy. Reports should be cost effective, and this includes reducing unnecessary reports, limiting the number of copies, and minimizing waste. Report preparation process. It includes various steps like collection of data, analysis of data, discussion, drafting, and presentation. Collection of data. Gather all the relevant information needed for the report. It's important to focus on what is necessary and avoid irrelevant or excessive data. Analysis of data. Once data is collected, it should be carefully analyzed to find relationships and important insights. Computers are often used for analyzing large amounts of data. Discussion. Reports are usually written by a group, not an individual. Discussions are held to analyze the data and agree on conclusions before drafting the report. Drafting. The first draft focuses on including all the necessary content, while the second draft organizes the content logically. The third draft focuses on refining language and ensuring clarity. Presentation. After drafting, the report is typed or printed, ensuring readability and neatness. It is then bound and delivered to the appropriate person or authority, often with a covering letter. Now let's look into Unit 10, Forms Management. Effective office management requires collecting information for planning and decision making. To make sure the information is accurate and up to date, it should be gathered using specific forms. These forms help in organizing, storing, and sharing information needed for decision making. Offices use a lot of forms, and managing them well can save time and reduce unnecessary work. A well designed form improves office efficiency. Definition of a form. A form is a document with some fixed information and space for variable data. It serves as a tool to record, communicate, and collect information for a specific purpose. For example, you may have filled out forms for university admissions or exams. Forms are essential for organizing, analyzing, and storing information in a standardized way. Forms in administrative management. A key responsibility of management is to create systems for reviewing and controlling procedures. Forms help reflect the activities of various departments. Regularly reviewing and improving forms can save money by eliminating unnecessary or duplicate forms. Reducing the cost of creating and managing forms is important, and given the significant expenses involved. Essentials of forms preparation. When preparing forms, the following should be considered. Use simple language. Make sure instructions are clear. Ensure easy interpretation and avoid ambiguity. Minimize the cost of processing information. Make forms visually appealing. Request only the necessary information. The form should be the right size, not too big or small. Avoid irrelevant fields or duplicating information. The form should be organized with a clear title, a logical layout, and sufficient space for responses. Changes in previous versions should be noted to avoid confusion. Steps in forms design. To design a good form, we need to follow these steps. Collect up-to-date information about the procedure the form is used for. Understand the purpose of the form and how it will be processed. Consider the methods and tools needed for filling out, receiving, and storing forms. Understand the circumstances such as language and time constraints under which the form will be completed. Estimate who will use the form and when. Guidelines for designing forms. Here are some important design guidelines. Size. The form should be the right size for filling, processing, and storing. Data arrangement. Information should be listed in the order it happens in the process. Information grouping. Related information should be grouped together for easier processing. Blank spaces. Provide enough space for entries. Cost considerations. The cost of producing and processing forms should be minimized. This includes production, processing, transportation, and storage costs. For example, production costs includes materials and printing, while processing costs refer to the time spent handling the form. By reducing processing costs, which can be much higher than productive costs, organizations can save money. Importance of forms control. Using forms in the office management has many benefits. They help in gathering information for record keeping, create consistency in procedures, and make operations more efficient by saving time, as you don't need to write the same details repeatedly. However, if too many forms are used or unnecessary ones are created, it can cause confusion, it slows down work, and increases errors. Therefore, it is important to manage the design and use of forms to ensure only the necessary forms are used and they are efficient. Objectives of forms control. In large offices, the cost of processing forms can be much higher than the cost of producing the forms. This makes it necessary to have a forms control system with these goals. Remove outdated or unnecessary forms and combine similar forms to only keep the essential ones. Ensure forms are well designed to create uniform procedures and improve efficiency. Decide on the quality and quantity of forms to be produced as well as the process for creating them. Make sure forms are regularly supplied to those who need them and prevent the introduction of unnecessary new forms. Reduce the size of forms and make sure they are used efficiently. Periodically review and assess all forms to reduce cost of forms and the labor needed to process them. Establishment of forms control systems. To control the production and use of office forms effectively, a centralized forms control section should be set up, managed by a forms control supervisor or records manager. This section will aim to achieve the objectives of forms control. The first step is to collect at least 2 copies of each form used in the organization. One will be filled with the master file and the other will be placed in the relevant subject files. After organizing the forms, the supervisor will analyze them since forms are closely linked to the office procedures. It's important to list all the procedures that require forms. The supervisor will help from department heads, will analyze the forms, eliminate unnecessary ones, combine similar ones, and introduce new ones if needed. If a new form is necessary, suggestions will be gathered from relevant departments regarding the purpose and design. The supervisor will also decide how to reproduce the forms, whether to print them in house or outsource the printing, depending on the cost and quantity. Standardization of forms. Standardizing forms is a key task of the Forms Control Department. This ensures that size, color, paper quality, and printing style of the forms are consistent, reducing production costs and making them easier to use. Standardizing forms also reduces confusion by clearly defining their appearance and information. Forms should not be larger than necessary, and the size should be chosen based on how easy it is to handle and store. Using standard paper sizes will minimize wasted space. Different colors can be used to easily identify different forms. For printing, a consistent style should be used. The standardization process should also make forms adaptable for multiple uses, ensure they are easy to use without unnecessary adjustments to machines like printers, be cost effective in terms of printing, save space and equipment for storing forms, bring uniformity to office operations. So, in the next two classes, let's discuss the last four units. So, if you have any doubts, please ask me. Okay, then thank you all. See you all in the next class.